Hello, Year 8, and welcome to another week of home learning for your design and technology. Obviously, this week is a food element, hence why I am in the corner of your screen. And it's been a long time since any of you have probably saw a teacher, so that's why I thought, okay, let's put myself on the camera before the end of term. So far with our food home learning, you have looked at nutrition. So we have been looking at the difference between macronutrients and micronutrients. Okay, so today we're going to look at something a bit different, but again, a really important piece of information that you should gather in your Year 8 curriculum. And we're going to look at this here. We're going to look at food provenance. So if you could get a piece of pen and paper at the ready, and in fact, in Show My Homework, I have attached a PDF file that you could use throughout this lesson. You might want to print it and write on it. You might just want to use it as a guideline and write the notes in your own book. It is absolutely fine whatever way you do this, but please refer to the PDF, and I am going to bring it up on screen in a little second. So to start us off, we've got 4 logos here, okay? What on earth do these 4 logos represent? So we've got the Soil Association Organic Standard logo. We've got the RSPCA Assured logo. We have got the Assured Food Standards logo, or also this is called the Red Tractor logo. And we've got the Certified Sustainable Seafood logo. Okay, sorry, that little tick is hidden behind my face. So what on earth do these four logos represent? And what do they have in common? You might want to pause the video here and go and have a little bit of a research, have a little think. And in fact, if I show you this is the little piece of, this is a PDF file that is attached to your Show My Homework work. And in here, you can write what they mean. You might want to write it in pencil in case you get it wrong, and then you can write in the correct definition when I show you. So please refer to this little top box in your worksheet. So what on earth do they mean? Pause the video and have a little think. Okay, we are going to get to what they mean, but this is our driving question for today. We're looking at, where does our food come from? A bit of the whole, you might have learned about it in primary school, the farm to fork, okay? Where does that food come from in our supermarkets, okay? So write this driving question at the top of your page, please, and underline it as per usual. Okay, so at the start of today's lesson, I presented you with these 4 logos, and I asked you, what do they represent? What do they stand for? And you might have written it in your worksheet. Well, let's see if you're right. So we've got the Soil Association Organic Standard. Well, it represents food that is organic. So if you see it on a food label, you will know that that food is organic. And we're going to look at in a little bit more detail about what organic food really is. We then have the RSPCA Assured logo. Now, this means that food has been reared to a very high standard and the animal has been well looked after. So it's to do with animal welfare. So jot that down if you haven't got that quite correct. We then have what I like to call the Red Tractor label or logo, and that's what it's commonly referred to. And it represents safe, responsibly produced food that has been grown or reared, prepared and packed in the UK. So that means, and you can see even here with the British flag, that food has been produced in the UK. Therefore, essentially, it's a local food. And then we've got this last little logo here, which is Certified Sustainable Seafood. That means that the fish has come from a sustainable source. Therefore, it has been fished in an environmentally friendly way. So you might want to jot these down in your little worksheet and make sure you've got them correct. So that's what the 4 logos mean. Now, what do they all link to? Well, they all link to this. They all link to this term called food provenance. And this is what food provenance means. It means that you know where our food is grown, caught or reared, how our food is produced, and how our food is transported. So it's about knowing everything about your food, being able to track it and trace it. Okay, that's too many government ads going into my head, but it is essentially the same as what we're seeing on the TV in terms of coronavirus, being able to track and trace your food as well. And again, if you have a little look in the worksheet, you might want to write this definition just here. What does food provenance mean? So you might want to pause the video here and do this now. Now, everything we buy and eat goes through a cycle. Okay, and it obviously starts off here. It starts off with food being caught, grown, or reared. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy. The food then that gets to this stage where it is cleaned, packaged, or processed. It is then transported to our supermarkets or our local shops. We are the consumers that then buy the food and drink it. Obviously, then that leads to more demand, and the food is then caught, grown, and reared again. So it is a consistent cycle that we go through when we are buying our food. And obviously, food can come from anywhere, okay? I advocate try and buy local, try and buy food that's in the UK to support our own economy, to support our local farmers, to prevent the CO2 emissions from food miles. So I quite like us to buy food in the UK, and we do grow a lot of our own food in the UK. And these are 8 different foods that are grown in the UK, okay? We've got apples, we've got carrots, strawberries, raspberries, lettuces, potatoes, lentils. Everything is grown in the UK. Barley, wheat. We are massive in the food industry. What I want you to do is I want you to have a little look at the worksheet, and you're going to choose either 1 or 2 foods that are produced in the UK and tell me how are they actually produced. And you might want to write it in this little box. You might want to choose from these 8 foods. You might want to choose your own food. It is completely up to you. So I want you to pause the video here and go and do that now. Now, one that I'm going to show you is carrots, and we're going to look at how carrots are produced from farm to fork. So if you haven't done any research, take your notes from this video. How perfect.
Crunchy carrots, from farm to fork. A carrot is a root vegetable, which means that it grows underneath the ground. The part we eat is the root of the plant, which is where all its energy is stored in the form of starch and sugar. Other root vegetables include parsnips, beetroot, and even onions. Although we always think of carrots as bright orange, did you know you could also grow yellow, white, red, and even purple carrots? You can also eat the leafy green tops of the plant too, although it's best to cook them a little bit first. To grow carrots, the land must be ploughed, formed into ridges, and then the stones are removed by a machine like this. Because if carrots grow around stones, they can form some rather unusual shapes. Then, between December and May, the tiny carrot seeds are planted into the furrows. They grow best in light, sandy soil and are planted sparingly to give each plant enough space and sunlight to grow fully. It takes between 12 and 16 weeks for different varieties of carrots to grow to their full size, but this can depend on the weather. The ideal conditions are warm days and nights, along with plenty of sunshine and rain, which is why they grow so well in our British climate. Once the carrots are ready to be harvested, a machine like this one, called a top lifter harvester, lifts them out of the soil. This process is usually started at midnight when the temperature is cooler. This helps to keep the carrots fresh and crisp. Around 700,000 tonnes of carrots are harvested each year in the UK. That's the equivalent weight of nearly 4,000 blue whales. Once harvested, the carrots are transported to a factory, where they are flushed out of the trailers by huge flumes of water. The carrots are then separated from any soil, stones or weeds, which may have been accidentally picked up. Next, they're washed and polished, and then sorted by size and quality. This machine is called a hydrocooler. Inside, the carrots are being plunged into ice-cold water, which keeps them nice and fresh. Finally, they're checked for quality one last time before being packed. Once packed, they're ready to be transported to the shops. It takes an average of just 36 hours from the moment the carrot is pulled from the ground to arriving in your local store, ready for you to take home and enjoy for your dinner.
So there you go. There's a little insight into how carrots are produced in the UK, okay? So hopefully you've got that down on your little worksheet. So let's go on to the next slide. Oh, are we going to be able to get on? Let's just exit that. There we go. So if we have a little look back at our little worksheet then, something that we haven't touched on yet, but I mentioned it at the start, is organic farming, okay? And essentially, there is a little video here. I knew there was a video. So what we're going to look at is, at the start, there was the logo linked to organic farming. And obviously carrots can be produced organically, and we're going to look at what is organic farming to start with and what are the benefits and the negatives. So you might want to write as the video plays in terms of what it is. There will be some benefits and negatives that show up. You might want to jot them down, or you might just want to research it. So let's have a little look into organic farming. If my little video is going to play.
It took hundreds of thousands of years for the human population to reach 1 billion. And in less than 200 years, that has increased to nearly 7.5 billion people. Many scientists calculate the sustainable population to be about 2 billion people, which means we need to manage our resources and food production very carefully to cater to the extra 5.5 billion people. As populations have grown, farming practices have become more intensified to maximize crop yields and ensure that we can feed our ever-growing population. Fertilizers and pesticides are used on crops, and animals may be kept inside in more densely packed sheds to maximize milk yields or egg production, or speed up the time needed for the animal to be ready to be sent to the market for meat. To learn more about conventional farming, watch our video on modern agriculture. In this video, we are going to look at an alternative to conventional farming, organic farming. We're going to see what it is in theory and the pros and cons of this method in relation to other modern agriculture methods. Organic farming currently accounts for about 1% of agricultural land worldwide. It focuses on sustainability and is thought to have less detrimental effects on the environment than conventional farming. This has led to it being proposed as an alternative to conventional agriculture for helping to overcome the climate change crisis we are currently experiencing. But the debate continues, as it is not a perfect solution. In theory, organic farming should not use chemical fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides, or feed additives for livestock. It requires the farmer to use more natural alternatives. This results in lower yields, but the farmer can sell their product at a higher price because consumers believe the product is of a higher quality. Instead of fertilizers, manure is used. This recycles waste and improves the soil structure. However, it is smelly and more difficult to apply than chemical fertilizers, and also means the farmer has less control over the mineral content they are putting into their soil. Crop rotation is used to reduce diseases building up in the soils and to strengthen the soil composition. Certain crops, such as the legume family, so peas and beans, fix nitrogen from the air and increase the nitrates in the soil. This makes the soil much more fertile, and so farmers rotate legumes with their other crops. Growing multiple crops is, however, less efficient and produces lower yields than specializing in one or fewer crops. Instead of using herbicides, weeding is the preferred organic farming technique. This is, of course, much more environmentally friendly because it is chemical-free, but it is very labor-intensive. Although this does mean more jobs available, which is a great thing. Organic farming is thought to maintain the biodiversity better than conventional farming because fewer chemicals are used. There are more bumblebees and insects in the area because pesticides haven't been used. Weeds and non-crop plants can grow as herbicides aren't used. Biodiversity benefits the food chain across all levels, from the plants up to the foxes. These are the theories of organic farming, and is how we farmed for 100,000 years before the Industrial Revolution. It is generally thought that organic farming is much better for biodiversity and also produces a healthier product because less chemicals are used on it. In the second video on organic farming, we will look at some of the problems of organic farming and the reality of what it means to be an organic farm.
Okay, so we're not obviously going to look at the second video, but just in a nutshell there, okay, what is organic farming? Well, hopefully you found out that obviously it's very different to intensive farming, okay? It's farming with the environment and biodiversity at the heart of it, okay? It's looking at not using chemicals, being very, very, very sustainable for the farmers and the land. So there was a lot of benefits and negatives discussed in that video. Now, some of the benefits are that there's obviously no herbicides used, no pesticides. It leads to obviously increased biodiversity. However, some of the negatives would be that there is a higher price to the organically produced food, and obviously you have to rotate the different crops, okay? And obviously that can be more tricky for farmers. It can be much more time consuming. It can lead to problems with the land as well. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about organic farming. Now I've got 6 questions here, okay? That's just going to recap on food provenance. And again, you're going to need to link the 6 questions to this last slide here. So you're going to be able to use the following slide to answer the questions. So you might want to pause the video here at these different points and then look on Show My Homework at the 6 different questions to help you out. So if you pause the video here and do that now. Okay, year 8. That is today's home learning lesson completed. Please head over to Show My Homework and complete the quiz. And I only have one last thing to say, and that is to enjoy the summer year 8. It is such a shame that we haven't got to see any of you. But just make the most of the summer holidays, spend time with your family, stay positive, and we look forward to seeing you in September. Fingers crossed. All right, bye.